Imagine a morning like any other. The sun rising over the familiar rooftops of Willow Creek, a neighborhood where everyone knew everyone, where the scent of jasmine mingled with the promise of fresh coffee. But on this particular Tuesday, the air held a different kind of promise. A promise of unspeakable horror. This is the story of Maya, a woman on the cusp of bringing new life into the world, whose journey was tragically cut short by the very person sworn to protect her. A story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about love, betrayal, and the darkest corners of the human heart. Stay with us, because the truth behind this unthinkable act is far more chilling than you could ever imagine. The call came in just after dawn, a frantic, almost incoherent voice on the other end, belonging to Marcus Thorne, reporting his wife, Maya, unresponsive. Officer Jenkins and his partner, Officer Davis, were the first on the scene, their patrol car gliding silently down Magnolia Street, past manicured lawns and houses that hummed with the quiet rhythm of waking families. The address, 47B Magnolia, was a charming two-story home, its porch adorned with blooming petunias. It looked like a picture of domestic bliss, a stark contrast to the grim reality that awaited them inside. Marcus met them at the door, his face a mask of distraught grief, his eyes red-rimmed and vacant. He was a man usually known for his sharp suits and an even sharper smile, a respected figure in the community, running a successful financial consulting firm. Now, he was a shadow, his expensive silk pajamas disheveled. She's in there, he choked out, gesturing vaguely towards the living room. I found her. I don't know what happened. The air inside was thick with a metallic scent, unmistakable and chilling. The officers moved with practiced caution, their eyes scanning the pristine, tastefully decorated living room. And then they saw her. Maya Thorne lay on the plush Persian rug, a vibrant splash of red staining the light fabric around her. Her eyes were wide, fixed on the ceiling, a silent scream frozen on her lips. Her nightgown was hiked up, and the sight that sent a jolt of ice through Officer Jenkins was the faint, rhythmic tightening of her abdomen. Maya Thorne was in active labor, and she was undeniably, horrifyingly dead. A gasp escaped Officer Davis. "Oh my God," she whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. Jenkins knelt, his gaze sweeping over the scene. No signs of forced entry. Nothing seemed out of place, save for the devastating tableau before them. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by Marcus's ragged breaths from the doorway. This was not just a murder. This was an atrocity. Detective Isabella Miller arrived an hour later, her expression grim as she surveyed the growing number of emergency vehicles. Miller was a veteran, her sharp eyes missing nothing, her demeanor calm even in the face of the most heinous crimes. She stepped out of her unmarked car, her gaze immediately drawn to Marcus Thorne, now slumped on the curb, being comforted by a neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, a kind-faced woman who looked utterly bewildered. "Detective Miller," Officer Jenkins greeted, his voice low. "It's bad, very bad," Miller nodded, her eyes already taking in the details. The quiet street, the curious glances from behind curtains, the palpable shock in the air. She walked into the house, the scent of blood growing stronger. She saw Maya, her heart sinking. The sight of a woman murdered during labor was a new low even for her. Malaka stated, her voice even, as she approached the grieving husband. "I am Detective Miller. Can you tell me what happened?" Marcus looked up, his eyes bloodshot. I woke up. She was groaning. "I thought it was just the contractions getting worse. She'd been having them all night, on and off. I went to get her some water, and when I came back, she was like this." Lying there, not breathing, he paused, a fresh wave of tears welling. "And the baby, did you call for medical help?" Miller asked, her gaze unwavering. "Yes, I called 911. They told me to check for a pulse. There wasn't one." He buried his face in his hands. "My Maya and my baby gone," Miller observed him. His grief seemed genuine, yet there was a flicker, a subtle shift in his eyes when he mentioned the baby. It was too quick to pinpoint, but it was there, later at the station. Marcus's story began to take a darker turn. After hours of questioning, his composure fractured. He confessed to an affair, a desperate confession he claimed. The baby, it wasn't mine, he whispered, his voice hoarse. She was cheating. I found out a few weeks ago. It tore us apart. We were trying to work through it, for the baby's sake, but it was hard. He painted a picture of a marriage strained by infidelity, a man heartbroken by betrayal. He claimed Maya had been seeing someone else, a colleague from her marketing firm. He offered no name, only vague accusations. I loved her, detective. Despite everything, I would never hurt her, never. Miller listened, her expression unreadable. The motive, he suggested, was a sudden, violent outburst from an unknown lover, or perhaps even a self-inflicted wound in a moment of despair. But the medical examiner's preliminary report contradicted this. Maya had died from a single, precise stab wound to the chest, delivered with significant force. This was no accidental injury or desperate act. This was murder, and the timing, mid-contraction, suggested a cold, calculated act, or a moment of extreme desperation. If this case has already gripped you, please take a moment to hit that like button. Your support helps us bring more compelling true crime stories to light. And let us know in the comments below. What are your initial thoughts on Marcus's confession? The investigation began in earnest. Detective Miller, assisted by her sharp young partner, Detective Ramirez, delved into the lives of Maya and Marcus Thorne. Willow Creek was a tight, knit community, and news of the tragedy spread like wildfire, leaving a trail of shock and disbelief. Marcus Thorne. He's always been the golden boy, Mrs. Henderson told Detective Ramirez, shaking her head sadly. Successful, charming, always volunteering for community events. And Maya, bless her heart, she was the light of his life. Always smiling, always kind. It just doesn't make sense. But Miller knew that appearances could be deceiving. They always were. They started with Marcus's claim of infidelity. Maya Thorne was a senior marketing executive, well respected, with a reputation for professionalism. Her colleagues were stunned by the accusation. No one had ever seen her behave unprofessionally, let alone engage in an affair. Her closest friend, Simone, was furious. Maya cheated. That's a lie, Simone declared, her voice trembling with anger during an interview. Maya was devoted to Marcus. She was so excited about this baby. She talked about it constantly. She was planning the nursery, picking out names. She wouldn't risk any of that for some fling. Simone revealed a different side of the Thorne marriage. Lately, though, she seemed stressed, distant. She'd get calls she'd take in another room. She'd look worried. I asked her once. And she just said Marcus is under a lot of pressure at work. But it felt like more than that. Miller's team dug deeper into Marcus's financial consulting firm. On the surface, Thorne Financial Solutions appeared prosperous. High-end clients, impressive returns. But a closer look at their books, prompted by Miller's growing suspicion, revealed a disturbing pattern. Large sums of money moving between accounts, complex transactions, and a reliance on new investments to pay off older ones. It was a classic sign of a Ponzi scheme. This is big, detective, a forensic accountant informed Miller, pointing to a ledger. Marcus Thorne wasn't just successful. He was a financial wizard, all right, a wizard of deception. This entire operation is a house of cards. It's on the verge of collapse. The pressure on Marcus must have been immense. His entire empire, built on lies, was crumbling. The baby's arrival would mean more expenses, more scrutiny, and less flexibility. But murder, especially of his pregnant wife, it still seemed too extreme. The pieces slowly began to connect. Maya, with her sharp mind and meticulous nature, had worked alongside Marcus on some of his firm's marketing materials. She had access to certain client lists, certain financial reports. It was plausible, even likely, that she had stumbled upon the truth. Detective Ramirez found an old, encrypted laptop in Maya's home office, tucked away in a hidden compartment of her desk. It took their tech team days to crack it. What they found was damning. "Detective, you need to see this," the tech specialist announced, his voice hushed. Maya Thorne wasn't just a marketing exec. She was an amateur sleuth. She had been meticulously documenting Marcus's financial dealings. Dates, transactions, client names, even recordings of phone calls. The recordings were chilling. Marcus, on the phone, his voice strained, desperate, talking about delaying payouts and new investors to cover old debts. And then, a recording of an argument between Marcus and Maya, dated just a week before her death. Mia with her voice trembling. "Marcus, I know what you're doing. This isn't just bad business. This is fraud. You're ruining people's lives." Fess with his voice low and menacing. "You don't understand, Maya. This is how things are done. Just keep quiet." "For us? For the baby? No, I can't. Not anymore. I can't bring a child into this. I'm going to expose you, Marcus. I have to. For everyone you've hurt." For Arfues with a chilling calm voice. "You wouldn't dare. You'd ruin us both." Mawe now sobbing. "I'd rather be ruined than live with this lie. I'm giving you one chance to come clean. Otherwise, I'm going to the authorities." The recording ended abruptly. The implications were clear. Maya had discovered Marcus's massive fraud. She wasn't cheating. She was planning to expose him, and Marcus, facing financial ruin and a lengthy prison sentence, had been pushed to the brink. The plot thickens, doesn't it? If you're finding this case as captivating as we are, please consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into true crime, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. The paternity claim now seemed like a desperate, last-minute fabrication. Miller ordered a DNA test on the fetal tissue recovered from the scene. The results came back quickly. The baby was indeed Marcus Thorne's. His lie was exposed, revealing the true depth of his depravity. He hadn't just murdered his wife, he had slandered her memory to cover his tracks. The detectives began to build their case, meticulously gathering every piece of evidence. The timeline of Maya's contractions, the precise nature of the wound, the lack of forced entry, Marcus's shifting story, the financial fraud, and now, the damning recordings. He knew she was going to expose him. Miller mused to Ramirez. He was cornered. The scheme was collapsing. Her threat to go to the authorities was the final straw. "But why during labor, detective?" Ramirez asked, still grappling with the sheer brutality of it. Miller looked out the window, her gaze distant. Desperation, Ramirez. Pure, unadulterated desperation. He was running out of time. Maybe she had a deadline for him. Maybe she was going to call the police that very morning. The labor started, and he saw his window closing. He had to act then, or lose everything. They discovered that Maya had sent an encrypted email to a trusted lawyer, a contingency plan. The email was set to be released if she failed to check in by a certain time on the morning of her death. It contained all the evidence she had compiled against Marcus. He had to stop her before that email went through. The labor was an unfortunate coincidence for him, forcing his hand in the most brutal way imaginable. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source, Maya's old flip phone, found beneath a pile of blankets in her nightstand, overlooked in the initial search. On it, a series of unsent text messages, drafted but never sent, addressed to a contact simply labeled J. The messages revealed a shocking truth, a layer of deception even deeper than Marcus's financial crimes. "Amewaye draft texted J, I need your help. Marcus is onto me. He knows I'm close to exposing him. But there's something else. Something he's hiding about his past. Something even darker. He mentioned a name, the Serpent. Do you know anything about it?" Amewaye draft text has not just a fraudster. He's connected to something much bigger, something violent. I overheard a call. He was talking about disappearing someone. I think he's involved in something truly dangerous. Why draft text? The baby. I'm terrified for its safety. If anything happens to me, Jay, you have to protect this child. You have to tell them everything. The Serpent. Detective Miller's mind raced. The name rang a faint, disturbing bell from an old cold case, a series of unsolved disappearances and murders from years ago, linked to a shadowy criminal syndicate that operated in the city's underbelly. A case that had gone cold, the perpetrators never identified. Marcus Thorne, the respectable businessman, was not just a fraudster. He was a ghost from a past Miller had almost forgotten, a past steeped in violence and organized crime. His financial scheme was merely a front, a way to launder money and maintain a veneer of legitimacy. Maya had not only discovered his fraud, she had stumbled upon his true, terrifying identity as a key player in a ruthless criminal enterprise. He wasn't just afraid of prison, he was afraid of being exposed to his criminal associates, or worse, being taken down by them if his cover was blown. The baby's paternity was irrelevant. The infidelity claim was a desperate, spur-of-the-moment lie to deflect from the real, far more monstrous motive. Marcus Thorne had killed Maya, not just to protect his financial empire, but to bury the secret of his true criminal life. A life that would have endangered their child and exposed him to a fate far worse than jail. He was a man who had built his entire existence on a foundation of lies and violence, and Maya, in her innocence and determination, had threatened to bring it all crashing down. The arrest was swift and decisive. Marcus Thorne was brought back to the interrogation room. No longer the grieving husband, but a man trapped, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. Detective Miller sat opposite him, her gaze unwavering, the weight of the evidence heavy between them. "Marcus," Miller began, her voice calm, "we know about the Ponzi scheme. We know about the recordings. We know Maya was going to expose you." Marcus scoffed, a hollow, bitter sound. She was delusional. She didn't understand business. She understood more than you gave her credit for. Miller countered, placing Maya's old flip phone on the table. She also understood the serpent. The name hung in the air, a venomous whisper. Marcus's eyes, which had been defiant, flickered with a raw, primal fear. His composure shattered completely. The mask he had worn for years, the mask of the respectable businessman, finally fell away. "What are you talking about?" he stammered, his voice losing its arrogance. "We know about your other life, Marcus," Miller pressed on, leaning forward. "The disappearances, the money laundering, the violence. Maya found out. She wasn't just going to expose your fraud. She was going to expose you. The real you." Marcus stared at the phone, then at Miller. His chest heaved, the silence stretched, thick with unspoken truths. Finally, he broke. She wouldn't listen, he whispered, his voice cracking. "I tried to warn her. I told her to stay out of it. But she was so righteous. She kept saying she couldn't bring a baby into a world built on lies. She was going to ruin everything. Not just for me, but for the organization. They would have come after us both, after the baby." His eyes welled up, but there were no tears of remorse, only self-pity. "I had no choice. She was going to call the lawyer that morning. The labor, it just sped things up. I couldn't let her do it. I couldn't." He confessed to the murder, to the desperate, brutal act committed in the throes of Maya's contractions, a final, horrifying attempt to silence the truth. He described the moment, the fear, the cold resolve, the desperate lie he concocted to cover his tracks. He admitted the baby was his, the paternity claim a calculated deflection. The community of Willow Creek reeled from the revelations. The golden boy, Marcus Thorne, is exposed as a ruthless criminal and a cold-blooded murderer. The news sent shockwaves far beyond their quiet streets, reaching the ears of the criminal syndicate he had served, leading to further investigations and arrests. Marcus Thorne was convicted of first-degree murder. The evidence, meticulously gathered by Detective Miller and her team, was overwhelming. The judge sentenced him to life without parole, a fitting end for a man who had extinguished a life and a future in the most brutal way imaginable. Maya Thorne was laid to rest in a quiet ceremony, her memory honored by those who loved her. The baby, though never born, was mourned as a life tragically lost, a victim of a father's greed and desperation. The community grieved, but they also found a renewed sense of vigilance, a reminder that evil can lurk beneath the most polished exteriors. Detective Miller, though hardened by years of crime, found herself deeply affected by Maya's courage. Maya, A woman who, even in her final moments, fought for truth and for the safety of her unborn child. Her legacy was not one of victimhood, but of quiet heroism. This tragic story of Maya and Marcus Thorne offers profound lessons. First, appearances can be deceiving. The most charming and successful individuals can harbor the darkest secrets. It is a reminder to look beyond the facade, to trust your instincts, and to be cautious about those who seem too perfect. Second, the truth always finds a way. Marcus's web of lies, no matter how intricate, eventually unraveled. Secrets, especially those built on harm and deception, rarely remain buried forever. There is a moral imperative to seek and uphold the truth, even when it is difficult or dangerous. Third, greed and desperation can lead to unimaginable acts. Marcus's actions were driven by a fear of exposure and financial ruin.
Our deep dive today, well, it takes us into a world where outward appearances really hid some unimaginable secrets. We're going to explore the layers of deception surrounding the tragic case of Maya Thorne. We'll be drawing from police reports, forensic analyses, interview transcripts, and even digital evidence. The goal here is really to piece together how a seemingly perfect life concealed a truly shocking truth. Our mission, for you, the listener, is to unpack the chilling reality behind this crime and reveal how greed, desperation, and, well, something far more sinister can unravel even the most carefully built facades. Okay, so the scene was Willow Creek. Picture this perfect neighborhood, domestic bliss epitomized. But then, one Tuesday morning, that whole picture just shattered. The call came in just after dawn. Officers Jenkins and Davis arrive at 47B Magnolia. It's described as a charming two-story home, porch with blooming petunias, the whole thing. And waiting for them, Marcus Thorne, Maya's husband, usually, a respected guy, sharp suit, sharp smile, but now he's standing there totally disheveled, wearing this mask of distraught grief.
And inside, the grim reality hits them immediately. Maya Thorne is on the floor, on this plush Persian rug. There's a vibrant splash of red staining the light fabric right around her. Her eyes are just fixed on the ceiling. But as Officer Jenkins gets closer, there's this incredibly chilling detail. Her nightgown is hiked up, and her abdomen shows this faint, rhythmic tightening. She was in active labor.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Maya Thorne was dead, horrifyingly dead, mid-contraction. The only sound apparently was Officer Davis whispering, "Oh my God."
So Detective Miller arrives, and Marcus gives his first story. It's vague. He says he woke up, heard Maya groaning, figured it was just contractions getting worse. He went to get her some water, came back, found her unresponsive. Then he called 911, claimed the baby was just gone.
Right. And, from an investigator's point of view, that first story rarely tells you everything. The sources show Miller was already looking for gaps. What really stands out is her immediate observation about Marcus. His grief, well, it seemed genuine enough maybe, but there was this flicker, a subtle shift in his eyes right when he mentioned the baby. Exactly. A fleeting moment, but a really crucial early red flag. It suggested something else was going on beneath that grief-stricken surface.
Okay, so later at the station, hours of questioning, Marcus's composure finally cracks. And he delivers this desperate confession, completely changes his story. He says, "The baby. It wasn't mine, she was cheating." Suddenly, he's painting this picture of a marriage ruined by infidelity, accusing Maya of seeing a colleague. He even suggests the motive was, a violent outburst from some unknown lover, or maybe even that she'd hurt herself.
But here's the thing, that story immediately slammed into the hard evidence. The medical examiner's preliminary report, it completely contradicted him.
How so?
Well, our sources detail Maya died from a single, very precise stab wound to the chest, delivered with significant force.
Wow.
Yeah, this wasn't some accident. It wasn't a self-inflicted wound. This was murder. And the timing, happening mid-contraction, that pointed to either a really cold, calculated act or maybe a moment of just extreme, focused desperation.
So that infidelity claim.
Instantly dubious for the investigators, yes.
Yeah. Right. So the investigation really ticks off. Detective Miller and her partner, Detective Ramirez, start digging into Maya and Marcus's lives. They talk to Maya's closest friend, Simone, and she fiercely denies the cheating accusation. "Maya cheated, that's a lie," Simone apparently declared. She emphasized how devoted Maya was to Marcus, how excited she was about the baby, planning the nursery, picking names.
And digging deeper into that interview with Simone, a more nuanced picture starts to form. Simone mentioned that lately Maya seems, stressed, distant, taking calls in another room. When Simone asked, Maya just brushed it off. "Oh, Marcus is under a lot of pressure at work." But Simone felt, and she said this, it felt like more than that.
Okay.
And that detail from the transcripts, it's compelling because it hints at maybe a very different kind of stress, something much bigger than just work problems.
And that different kind of pressure, well, it soon became chillingly clear, didn't it? Miller's team turns their attention to Marcus's company, Thorn Financial Solutions. On the surface, looked prosperous, successful consulting firm. But the forensic accounting report, which we looked at, revealed something deeply disturbing, a pattern of large sums of money moving between accounts, really complex transactions, and this constant need for new investment money just to pay off older investors.
Right. And just to clarify for you listening, that pattern is a textbook sign of a Ponzi scheme. It's not just bad business, it's outright fraud. You're paying early investors with money from newer ones, not actual profits.
So it's bound to collapse.
Absolutely inevitable. The accountant basically told Miller, Marcus Thorn wasn't just successful, he was a financial wizard, all right, a wizard of deception. He said this entire operation is a house of cards. It's on the verge of collapse.
And the connection to Maya, how does she fit in?
Well, she had a sharp mind, very meticulous. She worked on the firm's marketing. That meant she had access. Client lists, financial reports.
So she could have seen it.
It wasn't just plausible. The investigators thought it was highly likely she'd stumbled onto the truth about his fraud.
And they found proof.
Definitive proof. Detective Ramirez found an old laptop in Maya's home office. But it was encrypted.
Meaning locked up tight?
Exactly. Think of it like a high-tech digital lockbox. Cracking encryption isn't just guessing a password. It takes specialized software, serious computing power, and time. The fact it took their tech team days to get into it.
Tells you something.
It tells you Maya knew she had something dangerous and wanted it protected.
So what did they find on it?
It turned out Maya Thorn wasn't just doing marketing. She'd become an amateur sleuth. She had been meticulously documenting everything Marcus was doing financially.
Like what?
Dates, transactions, client names,
Yep.
even recordings of his phone calls.
Phone recording? Seriously?
Yeah. And one recording, dated just a week before she died, it was chilling. You hear Maya's voice. It's trembling a bit, but she sounds resolute. Marcus, I know what you're doing. This isn't just bad business. This is fraud. You're ruining people's lives.
Wow. And Marcus?
His response is low, menacing. You don't understand, Maya. This is how things are done. Just keep quiet. For us. For the baby.
But she wouldn't back down.
No. Her next words are just heartbreakingly clear. I can't bring a child into this. I'm going to expose you, Marcus. I'm giving you one chance to come clean. Otherwise, I'm going to the authorities.
And then
the recording just ends. Abruptly.
So that recording, plus the financial evidence, it just completely tore apart Marcus's initial stories, especially the cheating one.
Absolutely. And then came the final nail in the coffin for that lie. The DNA test results came back from the fetal tissue. The baby was, indeed, Marcus Thorn's.
So the cheating claim was a complete fabrication.
A desperate last-minute lie. It just exposed the true depth of his depravity. He hadn't just murdered his wife, he'd slandered her memory trying to cover his tracks.
Okay, so now the motive seems clear, right? Financial ruin, exposure.
The docs were connecting. Detective Miller, talking it through with Ramirez, basically said Marcus was utterly cornered. The scheme was collapsing.
And Maya's threat to go to the authorities.
That was the final straw. Miller called it pure, unadulterated desperation. He was running out of time. Maybe Maya gave him a deadline. Maybe she was going to call the police that very morning.
And the labor starting.
The sources suggest he saw his window closing. Fast. He felt he had to act right then or he'd lose everything.
Was it just about the Ponzi scheme? That raises the question, what was he really trying to prevent? Because the investigation also found Maya had a contingency plan, an encrypted email.
Right. Set to go to a trusted lawyer if she didn't check in by a certain time that morning. It contained everything she'd found.
Smart, but terrifying.
But there was still another layer. Deeper. Darker. It came from her old flip phone.
A flip phone in this day and age.
Yeah. Found under some blankets on her nightstand. Overlooked at first. And on it, a series of unsent text messages. Drafts. Addressed to someone just labeled J.
Unsent texts. What did they say?
They revealed something huge. Blew the case wide open. The first one read something like, Jay, I need your help. Marcus is onto me. He knows I'm close to exposing him.
Yeah.
But there's something else. Something he's hiding about his past. Something even darker. He mentioned a name. The Serpent. Do you know anything about it?
The Serpent. What on earth is that?
Exactly. And another draft text went further. He's not just a fraudster. He's connected to something much bigger, something violent. I overheard a call. He was talking about disappearing someone. I think he's involved in something truly dangerous.
Oh my God.
And the last one, chilling. The baby. I'm terrified for its safety. If anything happens to BJ, you have to protect this child. You have to tell them everything.
Okay, the serpent. For Detective Miller, according to the reports, that name rang a bell. A faint but very disturbing bell. It linked back to an old cold case file. Unsolved disappearances, murders years ago, all tied to this shadowy criminal syndicate operating in the city's underbelly.
And this is where it all clicked into place. The true identity of Marcus Thorne. He wasn't just a white-collar criminal running a Ponzi scheme. No. According to the sources, he was a ghost, a key operative within this group, the Serpent. This was organized crime. They used legitimate businesses like Thorne Financial for massive money laundering, other illicit stuff.
So the financial fraud was just a cover.
Essentially, yes, a front. A way to maintain that respectable image while being deeply involved with a ruthless criminal organization.
So the ultimate motive, it wasn't just fear of prison for fraud.
No, it was much bigger. He was terrified of being exposed to his criminal associates, or worse, being taken out by them if his cover was blown and he brought heat onto the organization.
Maya hadn't just stumbled onto financial fraud.
She'd stumbled onto his entire hidden life, his true, terrifying identity as a player in this dangerous criminal enterprise.
What happened when they confronted him with this, with the serpent?
His composure just shattered, completely. The mask was gone, he confessed. But the chilling part, zero remorse for Maya. He whispered something like, she wouldn't listen. I tried to warn her.
Warn her!
Yeah, she kept saying she couldn't bring a baby into a world built on lies. She was going to ruin everything.
Not just for me, but for the organization. They would have come after us both. After the baby.
He thought he was protecting the baby.
That's what he claimed. I had no choice. She was going to call a lawyer that morning. The labor. It just scud things up. I couldn't let her do it. I couldn't.
Unbelievable justification. So the outcome...
Marcus Thorne was convicted. First-degree murder. Sentenced to life without parole.
And the revelation about the serpent...
It sent shockwaves, all right? Led to further investigations, more arrests connected to the syndicate. Maya's discovery had wider consequences.
Such a tragic end. It really is.
Yeah.
But, this deep dive into Maya's story really highlights her incredible courage. Here's a woman who, even facing unimaginable danger, right up to her final moments, was fighting. Fighting for truth. Fighting for her unborn child's safety. Her legacy, I think, isn't one of victimhood. It's one of quiet, determined heroism against just profound evil.
Absolutely. And this story, Maya and Marcus Thorne, it offers some really profound insights for all of us, doesn't it? First, it's such a stark reminder that appearances can be so incredibly deceiving. You see this charming, successful guy, but underneath, something else entirely. It really underscores how complex criminal motives can be, how different lies, infidelity, fraud, organized crime can all be interwoven.
Right. It shows you need to peel back the layers, not just look at the surface lie. Look for the pattern in the deception itself.
Second, the truth often finds a way out, but usually it takes real effort.
Yeah, Marcus built this intricate web of lies, but it did unravel.
Thanks to forensic evidence, digital trails, Simone's insights, Maya's own documentation, diligent police work pieced it together.
It's a good reminder that secrets built on harm and crime, they rarely stay buried forever.
Third, it really illuminates how greed and desperation, especially when tangled up with something like organized crime, can drive people to, unimaginable acts.
Marcus wasn't just scared of losing money or going to jail for fraud. He was protecting this whole hidden life, this criminal infrastructure.
Yeah. It's a really stark warning about unchecked ambition and maybe the ruthlessness that comes when people get deeply involved in illicit worlds. And finally, and this is really important for anyone listening who might feel they're in a dangerous situation or maybe uncovering something illicit, this case highlights how crucial a safety plan is.
Maya's documentation, that encrypted email, those were brave, smart steps. But tragically, they came too late for her.
It emphasizes, doesn't it? If you suspect you're in danger, if you've stumbled onto something dangerous, you have to reach out. Trusted friends, family, the authorities, immediately.
Absolutely. Your safety, the safety of people you love, that has to be paramount. Never underestimate how desperate someone cornered can become.
So after digging into a story like Maya and Marcus Thorne's, it really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What secrets might be hidden beneath the most polished surfaces in your own world? And, maybe more importantly, what would it actually take for those secrets to unravel?
This story serves as a stark warning, about the destructive power of unchecked ambition and the lengths to which some will go to protect their illicit gains. It highlights the importance of integrity and ethical conduct, even when faced with immense pressure. Finally, for those who might find themselves in a dangerous or abusive situation, especially when uncovering illicit activities, seek help and create a safety plan. Maya's attempt to contact a lawyer was a brave step, but it came too late. If you suspect you are in danger, reach out to trusted friends, family, or authorities immediately. Your safety and the safety of those you love is paramount. Do not underestimate the desperation of someone cornered. Thank you for watching this deeply moving and unsettling story. We hope it has given you pause for thought. If you appreciated our detailed storytelling, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with someone who might find it impactful, and subscribe to our channel for more true crime narratives that explore the complexities of human nature. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, stay safe and vigilant.